Are you in Poland now?
No, I'm actually on. We went to one of the Canary Islands off the coast of Morocco, kind of. It's called La Gomera, next to Tenerife. We were going there for vacation, and then they started another lockdown in Poland, so we prolonged our vacation. So that's where I am now. It's very nice. But
Okay, that's wonderful. So I was going to ask you, do you live mostly in Poland, or do you switch back and forth to Sweden and Poland?
no, only Poland.
Only Poland. So you don't live in both cultures. Okay.
I mean, no, except I have family. My parents, my brothers are in Sweden, but I don't I don't take me and my family live in Warsaw, in Poland.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. When you were younger,
we don't move back and forward.
when you were younger, did you switch back?
I mean, no. I grew up in Sweden. I'm Swedish. I moved to Poland to study at the film school when I was 21. So I lived in Sweden all my childhood and my teenage years, and then I moved when I started studying at the Polish film school. And after that, I keep going back to Sweden. I still go back to Sweden for work and jobs, but I live in Poland. I stayed in Poland after the film school.
That's what I was really curious about, was people that move back and forth between two cultures, because often I find that people are moving back and forth between cultures, sort of never feel at home in either one of them. But it sounds like you pretty much are at home in Poland.
Yeah, I mean, I have my family there, and the people I surround myself with are home. My family in Sweden, my parents, that's also home. I wouldn't call Poland something I feel at home with. Poland as like a country, what it represents right now politically and so on, not at all. But the people like my family, my kids and my friends and the people I work with, that's home. But I separate all of those things because they're in quite big conflict with each other. I wouldn't say like I've fallen in love with the Polish system of, you know, and that's what made me stay. And I still like don't consider Poland to be like something where I will stay forever or something. Nothing is that definite, I think. But I stayed there also because of the Polish film school, which I love and which is a home to me, where I teach, where I studied.
Yes. I lived in Russia for a while. I'm married to a Russian, and so I was going back and forth, and I just felt like once you live in two different places, you sort of don't feel like either one of them are really home. You have a different idea about what home is. And I'm always very curious about how people feel about, you know, switching back and forth culturally. So let's get to the film.
Sure.
So it's your second film, and your first was The Hereafter in 2015, which was screened in Directors Fortnight in Cannes. And did Sweat go to Cannes also?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't physically go to Cannes because it was a pandemic year, but we got the 2020 Cannes label as part of their official selection in 2020. And that was great. I mean, great to have the film appreciated by Cannes, the Cannes Film Festival, and all the promotion it got, and all it got kind of a good start based on that. But it was such a kind of strange year for everyone, and everyone was doing this for the first time.
Absolutely.
But I think we did the best we could by launching it online as much as possible, launching a kind of getting it out there and really taking the online promotion of the film, starting with Cannes and the Marché du Film, really seriously. But not many films that were selected by Cannes in 2020 did take it so So they didn't. I don't think they really knew what to do with this kind of digital launching platform.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a real challenge for lots of people. So tell me, what interested you in the social media personalities?
I mean, there are many reasons, and it's kind of like a long answer, but I think like in the honest answer is that first of all, I wanted to do something very different from my previous film, from The Hereafter, which it's a very kind of static film, bleak, little dialogue, kind of dark energy surrounding it, and I wanted to make
Classic,
something, yeah, like
classic
and I wanted,
Eastern European, you know. And really, you
yeah,
did do something completely different. All that pink and all that energy is really, I mean, you really made something quite different from the usual.
yeah, and that was something I wanted to do to kind of like push myself. I wanted to make something loud, something dynamic, something pink, something completely like not in line maybe with the aesthetics that I'd been developing. And then I was sitting, I was like, I was spending a lot of time in my phone rather than coming up with other kind of noble film ideas. And I was watching this fitness influencer a lot. And she was kind of provocative to me. And I felt it was pretty shallow, but I couldn't stop watching her. And I started questioning, why do I think this is shallow? And why do I feel provoked by her when she seems so kind of happy? And I guess like what interested me was my reaction towards her a lot, like why, and because I think we all have a reaction to an influencer, and they kind of provoke so much emotion, like hate and love within people, and that interested me a lot. And also a kind of a challenge: can I make a main character a fitness influencer? At the beginning, that when I started, it became a very kind of genre-driven, crazy film with a lot of like killings and psychopaths, and it was completely crazy story, which was like kind of just me having fun with a plot line in the beginning. But the more I got to know the character of Sylvia, the more I kind of took away all this kind of fireworks, all this sensational weird things, and I just ended up with this character that started fascinating me more and more. And I eventually just ended up with 3 days in her life, and in a very realistic approach to her, and that was what interested me at the core, somehow the human being, and where is the fitness influencer in me, and where is the Magnus in her, kind of like where we meet eventually. I believe we all meet at some point, and where do I meet her?
And since we're talking about her, let's talk about your actress, Magna, and how well she fits the character of Sylvia. You felt like she fit the character perfectly. Why was that? Does she like to please like Sylvia does? What did she do to prepare for the role? I know she was on like a special diet. She never was a social media person. She learned all that. Tell us a little bit how the actress prepared for the role.
I mean, it was a long journey because we had the luxury of time because we had a difficult time financing the film. So we kept having to postpone because we couldn't gather the money. And I mean, in the end, we ended up with very little money to shoot this film, and very few days, 21 shooting days. So it was always a struggle, but it gave us a lot of prep time. So we were able to prepare with Magdalena for a year and a half because we kept postponing. So she could really spend a lot of time in the gym. And like you said, when I first met her, she didn't have an Instagram account. She was not at all familiar with influencers. So that process of kind of getting into that routine of, first of all, observing other influencers and creating your own kind of style. What is it she does good, and what kind of workout is she into? What kind of influencer is she? That all had to kind of develop naturally in a way that was comfortable for Magdalena. And I think for her, as an actress who has a lot of passion and patience and is very kind of brave, it was about finding also herself within that character, and finding like a kind of a common ground to share her voice, and not to play a character, but to find that character within herself and bring her out. And I mean, for it, and I mean, she said something at the beginning when we first met. She was the first person I casted for the film, the first actress who came, and I liked her, but it was too scary for me to say directly, yeah, this is her. We have the girl. It was like I had to meet her a couple of more times and casted many other actresses, but I kept returning to her because she said something. She fit. She had such a. I liked the way she looked, and she told me in the way that she could be this stereotype of a blonde, and she could play with this. And she said, if someone treats me like a stupid blonde, I give them stupid blonde times 2. And she turns that into a kind of a power, and she can run the show based on that. And I loved that, and I thought it was so fun, and that we could play a lot with that by making Sylvia. The more we make Sylvia into a stereotype in the beginning, the bigger kind of a journey the audience has to take, or also like the bigger the journey to kind of enter her and to find her humanity, or for us to see that maybe we are too quick to judge at times.
Yeah, you don't want to underestimate Sylvia. You pretty much bring her to the brink. But she has this surprising capacity for empathy, like a very deep capacity for empathy. Is that what you meant by capturing emotional honesty? Or are they things?
Yeah, but I think for me, that's the reason to make a film. It's that empathy, that humanity, and it's finding that and looking for that. That's the reason for me to make films, because that's what cinema is about for me. It was, I hope it returns to going into a dark room with strangers and watching something kind of emotionally intimate on a big screen, and getting kind of going through an emotional experience that, when, in my opinion, it succeeds, kind of opens up our humanity or brings us closer to people, even the stranger next to us. The strangers on the screen are no longer strangers, and we kind of unite in something. That's like cinema for me. The cinema has that power, and it's always what I'm interested in, is kind of getting closer to someone we might not want to be connected to at first glance, or something like that.
Like your stalker?
For example, like a stalker, like the pink clothes, the fitness influencer. I don't know. In my previous film, it was a murderer, and it's like through the journey of the film, through the length of the film, we can like enter different levels of a conflict, and we can somehow become more compassionate, I think.
Mm-hmm. In one of your interviews, you said something about the world of fitness is controversial because, on one hand, it benefits the demand for feminism, but still cultivates the male gaze. In accepting yourself and being proud of yourself, at the same time, people who are working out and trying to get their perfect figure and perfect body image are doing this in the order to be adored. But don't you think that fitness and working out and looking good has something to do with being beyond being adored?
In what sense? Like being healthy?
Yeah,
Or
like feeling great, for instance, and
yeah, no,
having
absolutely.
energy.
Absolutely. For sure. I mean, I guess that's part of it. I guess it's also part of it is looking good or feeling good, being adored by others or adoring yourself in a mirror. What I think that's what I like about this fitness industry, because it's like you say, it's controversial in the sense that it's so many contradictory kind of strength and energies. Like you said, like there's the T-shirt of "You can do it" or girl power, woman power. It's like when feminism was set up for sale, it got capitalized on in the fitness world. It stopped being feminism in a way, but it also stops. It also uses feminism as a way of selling T-shirts, in a way that, on the other hand, might be good because there might be also a positive side of that that maybe wouldn't even exist if you didn't sell those T-shirts. There's also this male gaze, like you said, that there's like a kind of a still a kind of a, at least in Poland. I'm not speaking for all of the world now. There are different cultures, but a kind of a playboy style to the whole fitness world and how it's being presented and how it's being promoted and fed up on and observed.
Mm-hmm.
And all these things uh, are so interesting in the way when it's also when you're also actually a woman who Sylvia is, who's running her own kind of reality show. She's holding the camera, and there's no like there is in a way, but there's not directly any male cinematographer holding her camera. She holds her camera. She decides what
She
she's.
has her own male gaze at herself.
Yeah, because somewhere beyond what is required or what is being watched, and for the followers, there is that male gaze. So even if she holds the camera, she's her own boss and so on. She can't escape that, and that's a kind of a strange circle within the fitness world. But we still watch commercials and we feel good that there's like, yeah, this is woman empowering, or yeah, even the influencers use it as let's get together, girls, let's train together, let's be stronger, love yourself, accept your body. I
Yeah.
mean, watch my body, which you will never get, but accept your own body, but don't be too happy about it. I mean, it's like so weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the stalker and the whole thing with her stalker and what she does with the guy that comes to her house and how she instigates him in into doing something about the stalker? And then I feel like she feels sorry that maybe she doesn't really get what she actually did, but somehow internally she does understand it because she gets in the car, she drives him to the hospital. This is really fascinating.
But I always thought that there's part of Sylvia is a fat white man sitting in a car masturbating by himself. And I thought there's a part of her that is that. That's her fear. That's her worst fear would be to be that. So it's part of her. And uh, that's why she reacts. Somehow they are kind of similar. They both record themselves. They are both kind of honest in what they say. The difference is that she's pretty blonde girl with 600,000 followers, and he's fat, disgusting guy, lonely in a car. But there is a connection, and I think it's kind of her. I think of him as a kind of her shadow, her dark side that she tries to kill or get rid of, like eventually by having someone beat him up. But exactly, also that's why the reason why she goes down to him or why she takes care of him is because, I mean, deep inside she feels responsible for what happens
She
to
has,
him, and also what that maybe she's closer to him than she would like to admit.
it's that empathy of hers, I think. So it seems to me that Sylvia's greatest, I guess, problem is her mother. And you glide over that in one scene, which I'm perfectly happy with. I think you did a really good job in not dealing with that, even though I feel that that's Sylvia's main problem, is that she has some competition for attention with her mother, that she's not understanding and her mother's not understanding, and none of that is ever concluded. But why did you decide not to go into that, and but give us a look at that, because that's a very important section, even though it's small and she goes to her mother's house for her mother's birthday, and there's, you know, she tries to hug her mother and all the family is giving her attention rather than her mother, and you see all of that revealed. But you decided not to go into it too much, which I think was smart. And how did you make that decision?
Because I don't believe in that kind of storytelling. Because what dictates the story is 3 days in the life of Sylvia and her routine and her life. And maybe it sounds a bit pretentious, but I'm not allowed to go in and add another scene with the mother after she leaves her mother's birthday party, because it would be unnatural for Sylvia to meet her mother at that moment again. So as I approach the story of Sylvia in these 3 days, is that of course, I come up with these scenes in the beginning, but after a while, also with developing the character, and I like to think of it like this, and also working with the actress, something else takes over. I mean, I create a piece of life and the life starts living, and I have to respect that life. And I'm not a marionette player. Once that life starts rolling, the actress takes over the character, or even during writing, something starts happening which I'm not allowed to kind of destroy or to switch into another direction. And believe me, I tried many times with the script of finding a different ending, a more kind of, I tried to bring the stalker back in the ending, I tried to bring the mother back in the ending, but it's just this story doesn't allow for that, because it would be too much of it would be cheating in a way, and it would be a different kind of story. And I don't like to think of it as her main problem is her mother and things like this. I don't like to look at this story like that. I think there are many things, and the mother is part of it, of course, but the best answer I have is I'm not allowed to return to it. It has to be past, and then she goes and does something else. Just like the ending is not definite for her character. It may be her happiness there, or the feeling of kind of a harmony or something good lasts for 10 minutes. Then she has to get into her car. She drives home. She's probably going to be unhappy again the next day, or happy. I mean, it's like life. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's nice that you didn't blame it all on the mother. So.
No, but I don't believe it's only the mother's fault.
Let's see. Well, I think that's it. I did want to ask you, you had a big space between films, many years. Did you, in your writing, in your pursuing ideas for your next film, did you have a lot of other films, a lot of other ideas that came up, or how do you grab on to the one that's going to take you? Does that one just kind of keep moving along, or?
Well, it's like, I think it's many things. First of all, I think I'm quite slow worker. I need a kind of a slow rhythm. I developed several stories, but it's like I choose them by, if I don't lose interest over the course of, let's say, 2 weeks, I know it's something worth working on. I also think in USA, when I watch people kind of like who are at the same stage as I am in filmmaking, you make films so much quicker. I'm like, oh my God, how do you do that? For me, it's a very slow process, and it takes time for me really in script. Most of 90% of it is just spent on script writing, on writing. That's where I think that's the work I admire the most, because it's the work I fight with the most. I think screenwriters are also the most underappreciated film workers. It's the most important. It's the most important part of the filmmaking process, in my opinion. And I think most of what is called directing, for me at least, happens in screenwriting. The rest is quite easy, I find. Or easy, you need patience and so on, but screenwriting, that's really where I see like talent and stuff like that, when other people can blow my mind in their way of like writing and the way they look at a story and so on. So that, because I feel maybe that's where I have to put most effort. But I also try to write with someone else, and it's very difficult for me. I also try to do someone else's script, and it's very difficult for me. And I keep returning to I always end up having to write it myself in a way, which is maybe my curse in a way. But maybe that's the way it has to be. I'm starting to accept the slow pace of things.
I think that the slow pace of writing is really important, because you look at what you wrote one day, and then the next week you look at it and you see the areas that are weak, but you didn't see that when the words first came out of you. So it takes time. It needs time to develop. And
absolutely. But there's also, I think there's also different kind of filmmakers, and some filmmakers don't need that kind of a detailed script to make a film, because they believe that the process of filmmaking is not in writing, it's on set, and they work it out on set and they make amazing films, and it's a different kind of working. I can't do that. It's like I'm not able to do that. I need like everything very precise in the script. I need to have the film in my head in writing, because I'm scared, I guess, because I'm scared I won't be able to deliver it just on set by kind of winging it by having a blueprint on the page. But some people do that, and I'm extremely jealous, because they it's a different, it sounds so it's like a luxury to not have to spend so much time in the writing, because you already know that, oh, I'll take care of that on set, the actors will help me, you have a different kind of confidence.
Well, after your sixth film that you've written,
maybe
you might want to change your pace. But I think I also agree with you that the writing is extremely important and very hard too. So don't rush. Thank you, Magnus.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. And I think that I very much enjoyed your film.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah, I especially love the whole stalker thing, and her empathy. This is when I realized, you cannot underestimate this woman. Yeah, so good luck. And
thank you so much.
I hope we all get out of this virus.
Me too. I hope to come to your festival next time instead of sitting here on two sides of a computer.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that we're little squares and not, in the flesh.